New developments this morning, what appears to be a shocking case of road rage. Robert Doyle, charged with second-degree murder, posted bond and is out of jail this morning. He is accused of shooting Candelario Gonzalez in front of his family. Both men called 911 to complain about the others driving. Doyle said Gonzalez was trying to run him off the road. Gonzalez followed Doyle home, allegedly to write down Doyle's home address. And that is when Doyle told police he got his gun ready.
They're following me to my house. I'll be there in 20 seconds, and the guns are already out.
All right, hold on for me, okay?
It's going down right now.
I can't even get the garage open.
You don't need to. Just you take your hand and throw it in park as soon as I'm stopped.
Now, Doyle says Gonzalez threatened him, and so he opened fire. Police say he shot Gonzalez 5 times as his wife and family watched in horror. Gonzalez did not have a gun. Listen here to the 911 calls as this was happening.
Everybody.
Okay.
We're going on home. We're going home. Oh, I guess we're not.
Son, you got a gun. Get somebody here now.
Sir.
It's just horrific. You can hear the 5 shots right there. Police say Doyle held Gonzalez's family then at gunpoint until police arrived. A whole lot to get through in this case. Let's talk about it with criminal defense attorney Pate. He is joining us now. So Paige, thank you very much. I mean, it is amazing to hear this entire confrontation play out between these 911 calls. I want to get your take on, in general, what you think of this case. One man says it's self-defense. The other man says he was just following him home to get his address. Where do you land on this?
Well, Kate, I think that's the critical question. What was the reason Mr. Gonzalez followed Mr. Doyle home? Mr. Doyle has an absolute legal right to protect himself and to protect his home with the use of deadly force if he reasonably believes that Mr. Gonzalez is coming there to hurt him. Now, we know Mr. Gonzalez has told law enforcement that, no, I just wanted to go by the house, I wanted to get his address, I wanted to file a complaint, but we can hear in part of the 911 call the dispatcher clearly telling Mr. Gonzalez, no, 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 do not follow him home. And I think that's what happened here. We had a typical situation of road rage, tempers were flaring, but at that point you need to de-escalate, not go chase the guy down to his house and end up in the tragic situation that we have.
Well, that explains perhaps why he ended up there and why he ended up dead. But legally speaking, does what happened on the road even matter with what happened at the house? You have a guy on his own property, this Doyle guy, who claims he defended himself on his own property. So is the legal issue really what Gonzalez did the moment he got there?
That's the critical issue, John, but at that moment, Mr. Doyle is certainly entitled to rely on what he saw before. Did Mr. Doyle see Mr. Gonzalez acting in such a manner that he felt that if this guy follows me home, he's going to do something violent? I have a reasonable fear for either myself, my wife, or my home that this guy, seeing how mad he was on the road earlier, is going to come to my house and hurt me. So the critical question, yes, is what happened at the house, but Mr. Doyle can certainly rely on what happened before to justify his belief.
And one other thing that happened at the house that I think is just as unsettling is the fact that he held the wife and his family, Gonzalez's wife and family, at gunpoint until police arrived. What's the legal fallout from that?
Yeah, Kate, I don't see any defense to that whatsoever. I mean, he's obviously not in fear from the wife or the daughter doing anything to him. They're apparently in the vehicle when he pulls out the firearm and then gets them out of the vehicle to wait for police. That is aggravated assault under Florida law. That's what he's charged with right now for doing that to those folks. It can also be kidnapping if he required them to move from point A to point B. So while he may have a good self-defense argument in relation to the shooting of Mr. Gonzalez, I do not think he has a good defense to the aggravated assault charges.
No, and that's a whole separate matter here too, isn't it? Paige, if this ever does get to a jury and a jury weighs the situation, will they be forced to decide who was doing worse things on the road in this case of dueling road rage?
I think so, John. I mean, that's not part of the legal definition, you know, who acted violently or aggressively first, or what happened down the road before they got to the house. But that's the kind of things that either the prosecutor or the defense lawyer will try to get the jury to think about. Who is really at fault here? Who started this? Who could have backed off and kept this from happening? Those are the issues that I think a jury will be asked to address.
And real quick, Paige, I mean, the sheriff is saying that this is not going to be considered a stand your ground case. As you mentioned, we're talking about Florida law here, and there is obviously a recent history when we've been talking about the stand your ground law. Why not stand your ground?
Well, I think that's to justify the fact they've charged him with second-degree murder at this case, or in this case at this time. I am certain that Mr. Doyle will try to raise stand your ground as a defense, because it's not just a defense to a situation like Mr. Zimmerman had with Trayvon Martin, where he's outside of the home. Stand your ground certainly applies. In fact, it originally was meant to apply just to when you're at your house. So if someone's coming to your house and you have a reason to fear that that person is either going to harm you or commit some violent act to some other member of your household, you have every right to stand there and use deadly force to prevent an attack.
Paige Pate, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up.